Hello, I'm Thomas Laurie, and today's screencast will be on the lesson plan for Professor Ginsberg class. Me and Chris were given the assignment to do a lesson plan on smoked out strategies for stopping. Uh, I think the idea of this was just to practice on going through and putting things into this lesson plan. So it started off with the essential literacy strategy focus. So we used summarize and explain, and we bolded them, kind of a good way to make those words stand out. The related skills needed to be able to work in this lesson plan we stated there, and then the content focus, which just tells us what we're focusing on, what the content is going to be focusing on throughout the lesson. Next, we went into the standards, which are at first we just kind of put these first four standards. We didn't put any of the ELD standards, which we now realize that we have to make sure we get some in there. So we added in all these ELD standards there. Next, we worked on connecting these two, so making sure our instructional learning objective was connected to our assessments, whether that is informal or formal, and then just making sure we added in a formal assessment, because before we just had informal assessments, which we were instructed that we need at least one formal assessment, which I don't necessarily agree with, because in PE we don't always have formal assessments. A lot of it's peer assessment, which is very informal. Next, we went into the language functions, and it just has us kind of put in the language function words that we had here. We had them described before, but then we were directed to just put the word in there, which I don't understand what the point or reason to having those is there, but that was the instructions. Next, we went into additional language demands, which kind of will state there. The resources that we're going to be needing for this assignment, kind of went into that there. Can be anywhere from 1 thing to 5 things like we have here to 10 things, just depends on what you're doing for the assignment. Next, we went into the prior knowledge that the student may have needed to be able to perform this lesson. Alright, and then the transition for the previous activity, so how we're going to kind of move from one thing to another, and then we also show like how long it should be taking, so made sure to put that in red there so we know that we're kind of staying on task, on top of our time and things like that. Although it also is beneficial to be flexible with our times and what we're going to be doing. Next is the hook, so just what we're going to be having, how we're going to draw students in to want to learn about the lesson. Followed by the focus instruction, which just talks about what we're going to be doing as a teacher, and how long that should be taking. The differential and scaffolding, so how we're going to help IEP and EL learning students here, state that right in there. The guided instruction and practice we went into, which just kind of talks about what students will be doing. And then differential scaffolding. I didn't understand why we have to have that in there twice, or why it has that in there twice for the lesson plan, but that was the lesson plan that we were given for the EdTPA. So we just followed the lesson. Next, it just talks about the independent practices that we'll be doing. Again, differential scaffolding, I think we could probably take that out there. And then how we're going to end the lesson. So that was what me and Chris did for our lesson. So, thank you.